Hi everyone, Trina here. So today, 18 days away from my first radiation treatment, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about agency in situations like this, taking agency, making decisions, and also making sure that the decisions you make are your own and not the hospitals or the healthcare systems. I think it's very important. The reason why I'm saying this is because I've just spent the majority of my day in the hospital. I had to see the oncologist for the first time. So far, up until now, I've had the two surgeries, so I've only been in the hands of a neurosurgeon. And since it's not cancer as such, I have not seen an oncologist before. So I was, looking forward to seeing what that would be like. In Denmark, you don't have you have a free healthcare system, which is of course great, but it also means that you get assigned. You can't just switch doctors. You get assigned a doctor, and then that's it. And doctors are like everyone else, very, very different. They can convey delicate issues in very different ways. And of course, I was looking forward to seeing who I was up against, because sometimes it can feel like you're up against. I'm sure some of you probably recognize that you are up against something where actually you are supposed to feel lifted and supported by someone. Now, the oncologist I talked to today, who is the one doing the radiation, was okay, but she did not sugarcoat things. And in some ways, that's good. In other ways, I do have now worst case scenarios in my head looping around. There are potential risks as the tumor might expand a little bit during radiation therapy because it's being irritated by it. The risk of having seizures, which I've suffered immensely from before, and still do to a little degree. I will talk about that later. But, that can start again. And that's really my fear, because it's a horrible reality I live in when that happens. And my vision, as I just touched on briefly in the first video, has been very affected by the tumors and surgeries. So I am a very sensitive person in terms of vision, and because this is the situation, she would expect that to be the major not implication, but what I can expect. Obviously you get tiredness, but also epilepsy is certainly a thing that's plausible too. That is not comforting. It's altering my vision even more than it is in reality. It is a frightening scenario for me. So now I had my ex-husband. I'm a single mom of two girls. One's moved out, flown the nest. The other one is 17 and living at home. I have to break this to the girls as well. At one point, I'll make a video about that. This is not the time to do so. I have to wait a week or two more, because they've got stuff going on in their own life that I can't double up there. So I have to wait a little bit on that. But I've got a really supportive ex-husband, and he was with me today as well. And it's sorry, I probably lost the thread there, but in situations like this, where you sit and you talk to someone, you really do need to step a little bit back as well and make sure that I process what they said, because they do speak from statistics and from experience, of course. But you also have to, it's really important, I think, to remember to listen to your gut as well. Just not to say amen to whatever they're saying. And of course, I'll probably end up doing this radiotherapy. I mean, the chances for getting rid, or no, you can't get rid of this thing. They're just going to kill it and it'll remain there. But the chances of making it dormant are 85%, you know, and that's a really good prognosis for me, you know. At least that's how I see it. But there were so many things that she said about the epilepsy, also the hair. I wasn't aware that, you know, how she painted the picture was very worst case scenario like. And this is still a wig, you know. I'm still wearing, half of my hair is still a wig from, you know, I spent 2 years now growing out my hair, and I could actually kick this wig if I wanted to now, like, you know, not wear it anymore. It's just gotten to the point where I can look in the mirror and I can say, oh, here's the old Trina, you know. And then all of a sudden I'm there sitting talking to someone and the hair is back again, you know, the hair issue. And she said, oh yeah, you might be lucky and you know, you can get a wig. And I was like, yeah, but I'm already wearing a wig, you know. I was looking forward to getting rid of it. And I know this sounds superficial, and of course, if this was cancer, I mean, it wouldn't even be an issue, you know. What's hair compared to cancer? Nothing, right? So you know, obviously that's a little bit privileged of me to sit and talk about, but it's more a symbol of, you know, that distance again to being the old me all of a sudden has increased. And it's really important, I think, because that increases, that distance to whoever you used to be can so easily increase when you are in this system and when you are in connection to these doctors. And so for me, when I came home today, and what I'm going to use some time on now is take a step back and reflect, you know, and be open to my gut feeling, you know, because I need to take agency and not just go in the flow of these doctors, you know, what they dictate. Oh, sorry, I went out there. I'm not opposing it at all, but I need to make it my decision, not their decision. And it can so easily be their decision, you know, because there's a whole system built up around it. So that's really what I want to encourage anyone to do, like take a step back. The good thing about the oncologist that I saw today is that when I brought up infrared light treatment and possible oxygen hyperbaric treatment, or hyperbaric oxygen treatment, she wasn't aware about the infrared, but she was open for me doing oxygen treatment, even during or prior to my sessions. And I have to pay for that myself elsewhere, of course, but she could see the potential benefits because of the oxygen. You know, and that was really nice because I was acknowledged for the stuff I studied at home, and that's not a given, not for the doctors here, and I'm sure not for many of your doctors. A lot of people will frown at you or even ridicule you probably when you bring up these, you know, newer treatments, promising treatments, and she didn't, so that was really nice. But she was very blunt. You know, that was her approach, and it was a machinery. You know, like going there, having the session with her, straight onto her MRI, straight onto having the mask done. You know, and then next week I have a PET scan, and then 18 days from now I'm starting this 33 session run. And so now I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to do a little bit more research. I'm already doing Thomas Seyfried's keto protocol with a low GKI. Wonderful man. I've been in touch with him twice, actually, both this time around and in 2022. Very kind man, generous. And as many of you know, I mean, there's good results. And again, it's all about taking agency. So I have to figure out now what I'll do. I will probably end up doing it, but I need it to be my decision. And I need to distance myself from, what they made me today, and be my own person. And so I'm going to use a couple of days doing that. So yeah, thoughtful. I think that's a conclusion, and very aware of having to make this my decision, having to take agency of the situation again now. I normally do that, but also a little bit fearful, and that I have to kick. I've got loads of things I know works in terms of that. So I'll get that. I'll deal with that. It won't be an issue, but of course I need to look into supportive alternative things like the HBOT and possibly infrared as well. Yeah. So sorry, long story short, make sure to remember who you are and take agency, take a step back, take time to take a step back and do some reflections and feel that it is your decision and no one else's, even though you agree or, or listen, just make it your own. I think it's really important. Yeah. So that was 18 days to the great kickoff, and I don't really know how I feel. Yeah, thank you. See you soon.